it's Jenny with Team Super Awesome Art, and this video is for those of you who want to start creating custom pops but don't quite know where to start. So I'm going to show you the 8 items that I think you would need to start your custom pops. This is pretty much what I started with when I started creating custom pops about 6 years ago. Not very much has changed. A couple things have, and I'm going to go over those differences as we go along. I'm going to try and find everything on here and link it down below, so that way if you guys want to find it, there'll be a link below. I will warn you that a lot of these things change in prices depending where you're shopping. Amazon carries all of this stuff. Craft stores also carry all of this. So if you want to kind of save a couple pennies here and there, you're going to have to kind of just look around and see where you can find these items the cheapest. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to start with is clay. So for all my custom pops, almost all of them, I use Super Sculpy clay. Super Sculpy is a baking clay, so once you're done with your sculpt, you're going to have to put it in the oven. This box is about $19. This is the firm clay. It comes in gray, and it's a little bit harder, a little bit firmer than the original. When I started creating pops, I started with the original, and it comes in this peachy color, and the only difference really between the two of them besides color is firmness. The reason I wanted to show you guys this one is because this one is more available at craft stores. So if you're shopping at your craft stores and you only find this one, definitely this is a great clay, and it just really comes down to preference if you prefer the firm clay or the original. The next thing we're going to talk about is tools. So when you're sculpting, you might want to use tools, you might not want to use tools. It kind of depends on how intricate your sculpt is. But if you do want to get a set of tools, these wood tools are the ones that I started with. I think they're about like $7 or $8 for a set of maybe like 7 or 10. They're relatively inexpensive and they really work great. I started with wood tools. I like wood tools, but since I started, I switched to metal tools, and this set isn't really that expensive either. It really comes down to preference. So honestly, I switched to metal tools, but I literally do all my sculpting with this one tool. So for me to say that metal is better, it's not true. It really just comes down to preference. I only use this tool to sculpt like 90% of a sculpt. Like I'll maybe switch maybe once or twice to a different tool. I know a lot of sculptors that love wood tools and only use wood tools. They don't use metal. So really, it's preference. I would suggest start with a set, buy one set, and then kind of see how it works for you. If you really love making custom pops, then later down the line, go ahead and get yourself a second set. Like I said, I use this one. I have a box with both a big box full of wood tools and metal tools, and I just use this one. So really, it's preference. I say buy one set, see how it goes, and then add on as the further along you get with your sculpting. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is oven. If you guys want to use Super Sculpty and want to start sculpting with this type of clay, a baking clay, you're going to have to put it in your oven. When I started creating custom pops, I would throw my pops into my regular house oven. Not recently, maybe 2-3 years ago, I switched to a little baking oven. The reason I switched really is because I hated waiting for the oven to preheat, and it made my house hot. So I bought this one. This one was, I think, like $18 at Walmart. It works awesome. The only thing that I will have to warn you is you'd have to get like a little piece of wood to put inside the oven so your clay doesn't touch the metal. So that's something to think about. The size of your sculpt, really, it depends if you can use this oven on the size of your sculpt, and you just have to make sure that none of the clay touches the metal, because it'll burn your sculpt. It'll burn your clay, and it'll kind of burn your pop too. So just keep that in mind. You might want to have like a little piece of wood, and just throw it in your oven, and then you'll be all set. This works great. Like I said, it's 18 bucks. If you don't want to spend the $18, you can use your home oven. Again, if you're scared of fumes coming from your pop, coming from your clay, this is a great option. I set it up out here. I stick my pop in there, and I watch it from inside the house. So I'm really not worried about any kind of fumes or anything coming from the pop or the clay, but that's really preference, and I always suggest you do your own research on any of this when it comes to safety. So just keep that in mind. This little oven is really awesome. I kind of just set it, and I don't even worry about it. I kind of leave the pop in there. I let it cool in there and everything, and it's worked really well for me. The next thing we're going to talk about after your pop comes out of the oven is priming. So in order to get a really nice look on your pop, you're going to want to prime first. And what I mean is really nice look is when you're painting. So when you want a really smooth, really even look to your paint, this is the secret. You're going to want to prime your pop first. Primer helps the paint stick to the vinyl. Alright, if you try and paint just on vinyl, you'll get really streaky look. This is what I use. It is Rust-Oleum car primer. It's what I've always used. It's like $9. You can get it on Amazon and also at hardware stores. This is what I use. It really works. It goes on really well. You can get a lot of pops out of this one container. Next thing we're going to talk about is paint. So paint-wise is also preference. When I started creating custom pops, I was already painting, and this is the paint that I used. I would use this Liquitex basic paint, and it really works for pops. This set I believe is, let me check my cheat sheet here. I believe this set is $24. I think you can get the smaller tubes. It comes with the basic colors, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 colors, I believe. So it's your basic colors. And I think the smaller tubes, if not this size, is 15 bucks. So they come in different sizes. I bought an extra large of the white because I use white a lot. But I believe you can get a set like this for about 15 bucks, and it lasts a really long time. Again, I'm not sure on the size, on which size is 15 bucks, but I do know that they have it. It's the cheapest with the most amount of, or like with this amount of colors. If you don't want to mix your colors, like let's say you are like, I need a specific color for a specific pop, you can always go with these little containers. So this is full part, this is metallic. Of course, these don't come in metallic, so I have this little set of metallic that I use every once in a while if I need something to be, if I need like a little piece to be metallic. These are about, I think $2, $1.99 to maybe $3. You can get these everywhere, craft stores, Walmart carries them. You can get them on Amazon as well. If you don't want to mix colors, like to get a specific color green, I would have to mix a bunch of colors to get that specific color green. If that's not what you want to do, you can always go with something like this. These, like I said, already come in every color. You can kind of just pick the ones you need and you're good to go. Again, paint is preference, so I'd say start with a set that you can afford. If it's maybe whatever you need, 2 or 3 of these, or maybe a little set like this for 15 bucks. Start with that and then kind of add to your collection of supplies. The next thing I want to talk about is paintbrushes. So everybody always asks me what's the best paintbrushes to use. When you go to a craft store, you'll see a giant wall full of paintbrushes, and it's super overwhelming. They're all different prices. It's just really hard to pick. I always buy a pack of super cheap, I think this set was 25 brushes for like six to 8 bucks. So the reason I buy this is because the way I paint, I use a dry brush technique, and it just eats up my brushes. So with a set like this, I don't have to worry about really taking care of my brushes. Since they're super cheap, when I'm done with them, I just throw them away and just replace them with a new brush. This is what I suggest getting, especially if you're starting out. That way you have different size brushes. You can kind of play around with what you like to use, and then you can kind of go from there and switch out if you do want to get like a more expensive brush, or you want a certain type of brush. You can go from there. I suggest something like this, super cheap, super easy, and you really don't have to worry about ruining a really expensive brush. The next thing we're going to talk about is sealant. So once you're done with your pop, it looks super beautiful, the paint is exactly how you want it, you're going to want to seal your pop. This protects the paint from chipping and just getting destroyed. So I use a brush-on sealant. This is Americana brand. The reason I use this is because I never have to worry about my sealant reacting to any type of paint that I use, or clay even. So I know this works well. I like the way it works. You have to brush it on. It comes in different, different like finishes. So this one is satin varnish, and this is what I started with when I started making pops. They do come in different finishes. This is between shiny and matte. They also have a super shiny, it's called gloss varnish, and it's super shiny. And then they also have an ultra matte, and this one's really awesome if you want your pop to still have that same pop look. So if you want it to be kind of matte with no shine, this is the way to go. Okay, the last thing I think we're going to talk about is the pop. So when it comes to pops, there's different options you can use, of course. The ones that I wouldn't use is the DIY Funko Pop. And the reason is because that body is super bulky and just really hard to work with. My suggestion is, if you have a specific look for a pop that you want to achieve, get the pop that already looks most like that. So if it's a specific pose, find a pop that's already in that pose. So that way you don't have to really sculpt in order to change a lot about the pop. I always go with the cheapest pop possible. That's my personal preference whenever there's like a sale on pops, and I think like the cheapest and the most basic pop bodies. So that way I just grab a whole bunch of those, and then I can, whenever I have an idea, I just grab one of those and I'm ready to go. But again, that's preference. If you don't want to sculpt a lot, already get a pop that looks like your pop. And if it's cheap, even better. I would stick to kind of basic pops rather than exclusives, because that makes it cheaper too. But again, that's personal preference. Alright guys, I think that's everything. This is pretty much the base of what I use to create custom pops. If you have any questions, leave your comments down below and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. If I missed anything, let me know, and I'll probably make another video addressing those questions. I'll probably make a video kind of breaking everything down, so breaking down this little oven, probably the sealants, more clay options. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time watching my videos, thank you so much. If you have seen my videos before, thank you so much for coming back. I know it's been a while. Hopefully I'll be able to make more videos and I'll have more stuff to share with you guys. Thank you so much.